And it's a wonderful experience. It's nothing that we would want to change or trade.
Hi, my name is Ernesto with Roaming Meals on RV Wheels. My family and I, we foster cared for over a year. And today, during this episode, we actually have the family who took our kids, or the ones that we were fostering, into their home. Without further ado, here's Angela and Francisco.
That the parents have physically abused them, or children whom have received beatings because they're crying, they're infants and they're crying, and the parents don't have parenting skills. So they go and they beat their children, and the child learns to not cry. And so these kids, if you think about it, this is like what gets me going. This is like what drives me, because these kids then learn to not voice themselves, to not have emotions, to not be social. They learn to just sit there. So they're sitting there in their own feces. They're sitting there hungry. They're sitting there laying down, and they have needs that are not being met because they're not crying. They're not alerting anyone to what they're missing, because they're pretty much coerced, and they're pretty much brainwashed into thinking, if you cry, you're going to be hurt. So just don't say anything. Just stay there. But that kind of manipulation goes beyond the infant years. That goes to when they are teenagers. That goes into when they're adults. This is something that is life-changing for them. This is not an incident that happens and it goes away because they're young and they'll never remember it. No, these are the social skills that they are gaining from when they're a month or days old. They learn to not be sociable. They learn to not be warm or not seek love from their parents or the people that are caring for them. They learn to be cold. That goes to the heart. That breaks my heart. And that's a driving force for me. And there's kids out there that are like that. And it's not the children's fault. The situation that they're in these days, whatever it may be with the father or the mother or the relatives, the child didn't ask to be in that situation. But why would these pure, wholesome children pay for the life that's been dished out to them? When there's others that can provide for them and others that can help fill that gap and at least help with the void that they have in their lives. And I feel that's what our calling is. Like, these kids are precious. They are amazing, and they have done no wrong. It's not their fault.
I think you guys have raised the bar when it comes to taking care of these kids, because I've seen your place and it is geared towards kids and is a blast with the chickens and the whatnots. Tell us about your setup. Why did you set it up that way, and how the kids are affected by it?
Oh, well, your son did say, "This has been my best day ever."
Yes, he did. I remember that. Yeah, he still says it. So.
But you guys are welcome to come here. You know something? Look, the thing is, I'm a little kid at heart. So especially the outside. I want to make it where I enjoy my backyard. My wife likes the backyard. She likes going to the pool and just being out there. But I like to set everything up where it's comfortable, where, the kids can still run around, where they can play with a chicken. You don't go everywhere and play with a chicken,
But we also, a lot of it also was we changed our lifestyle a bit a couple years ago. So we went from just eating somewhat healthy to eating organically. So a lot of what we do and what we try, my husband has tried to set up hydroponics. Well, he did. He set up hydroponics outside for a while. We were growing some of our spices.
Kale, tomatoes, all that good stuff.
And so we also are very big breakfast people. So, we decided, we're going to get chickens, because what's the best way to get organic eggs would be from our own chickens. So that idea kind of escalated from one thing to the other. And so we've made changes along that same idea. But yeah, the bunny has been something that I've always wanted. So we have the rabbit as well. And it just so happens that these are animals that kids do like as well. And we use those animals as therapy as well for the children. because we help the children help us feed the animals. They pet the dog, they pet the bunny. They're looking at the fish, the koi fish, the chickens here. So it's like a little ambiance, you know. It's like a little experience. It's like a petting zoo.
We pick up the eggs.
Yeah, they go pick up the eggs. They bring them inside. They're part of like the whole experience.
As to, you know, what's the most important thing that we can have for these kids, and it's just love. Just open your house, just open your hearts. Even though you've gone out of your way to create this incredible space, that's not necessary.
No, no, no. You know, if you have the love in your heart and you can find it inside to say to yourself, these innocent children, and, you know, when I say children, that covers obviously, you know, infants and toddlers and even teenagers. So, you know, there's a big difference in the age range that you work with, that you decide to place in your home, but they're all God's children. They all need love. And what is the common factor with all the children that go into foster care system? They're lacking love. I mean, that's really the basic necessity that they lack, is love. For whatever reason, you know, whatever the home situation is, you can look into all the histories behind all the children that get placed into your home, and the one missing link is always going to be love. Nurturing, care, necessity, love. And if you have that love, and you can open your heart and you can find a way to find a home for a child, not only will it make you feel like you have, because for us, we feel like we are royalty when we get these kids. Like for us, knowing that we're getting a placement, we go all out. We start calculating, okay, well, is this age range? So this is what we're going to need. We're going to get it here. We get very, very excited about knowing that we're going to have a child or two in our home. It's a very big deal for us, because we feel that our home is most alive and most active and just most energetic when we have the children in our hearts, in our home, in our place. You know, we do something that's called a group hug.
Yeah.
And has been asking for group hugs now for 2 days in a row. And it's not just us that do the group hugs. It's also our dog, Lola. Like, she whimpers when she sees that we're doing group hugs and she's left out. She whimpers.
So everybody gets
it's all of us that get a group hug. And we can have group hugs 2 and 3 times a day. Yeah. It doesn't matter who calls it. We're going to do the group hug if that's what we want. You know, so we have movie nights. Like, we try to center things in a way that is going to be inclusive of these children, that they're going to feel like, you know, oh my God, something that I can look forward to. Oh my goodness, popcorn? Oh, today's popcorn day? Talks about the movie night starting Monday and popcorn the rest of the days. That's her whole inspiration in the week, is the movie night with the popcorns. So, you know, I don't know. I don't even know what the best way to sum it up is. It's just, these kids are a big change in our lives. We're filling a gap in their lives, but they are so much doing more for us.
Family, my youngest is 5. So my cutoff is 4 and younger. You guys have had a teenager in your house. Talk to me about that experience, and would you have another teenager in your house?
I'm going to start.
Okay.
All right, so the teenager that we had in our house was not a typical teenager, in the sense that she was very mature for her age. She was very domesticated. She wasn't really going to school. So mainly she came from Honduras, and she was living with her sister. And her main objective, her main goal was to take care of the children and to feed them. So for her, when she came to our home, she didn't want to go to school. She didn't want to go to high school. She wanted to just stay home, and she wanted to help cook. That was her thing. Her therapy was cooking. She didn't want to go outside. She did not have friends yet, so she wasn't trying to hang out. She wasn't trying to escape. She wasn't trying to run away in the middle of the night. Um, she was literally an ideal teenager. We were going to adopt her. We literally were going to adopt her. The plans were to keep her and the 3-year-old, because we were told that they would need to be adopted, or she would need to go to I don't remember what the next step is for once you age out. There's a program that they can join, but we were willing to assist her in staying with us after she aged out, because she came to us at 17, so she only had less than a year to turn 18. And so she would stay with us, start that program, and still live with us and get a job, and we would work it out that way. We fell in love with her. She was awesome.
Mhm.
She was awesome. We never expected that she would run away from home. That was completely unseen. We were shocked. We were surprised. Completely took us by surprise.
Yeah, when they first
Second
told
time
us
to you.
that we were gonna get a teenager, it was like we did think about it for a millisecond, but again, it's a child that needs help, and we couldn't really stop to judge and start thinking negative things. We just had to, take the chance and let her come into our house um and do what we have to do, take care of them. So that's what we did. We went and we met them. Was it the weekend before or something like that? We met them,
Like we did
and
like we did with Caitlin and Chris.
yes,
We kind of had a pre-meeting before the actual placement.
and and then we're like, we just couldn't wait to have them in our house. So it was pretty cool.
But the question really is also, are we willing to, how do we feel about taking in the hard to place children from age 9 to 18, 17, 18, teenagers?
Yeah. I mean, something, the same way that at some point, I was like, I don't know if I could be a good foster parent, or I don't know if that's for me. I won't say no. Again, all kids need a chance, and maybe some of these kids had bad foster parents, because there are bad foster parents out there. I hate to say it. And they just need another chance with somebody else, or maybe some of them needed some type of professional help, and if we find a way of providing this for them, and we all learn how to deal with whatever problem it is, I think we can move forward and make things happen. So I won't say that we will never take in a child that is on in that age group. If they need the help and we're here, we're willing to do it.
If you can, please just tell me, why did you guys get into foster care?
You want to take that? No, I think you should, because then I'm going to say something and you'll be like, wow.
Well, we have no kids of our own, so we have a lot of love in our heart. We have a lot of nieces and nephews, and we know that they bring a lot of happiness into our lives. So we decided if we couldn't have our own family, that we would make an attempt to reach out to children who needed help, whether it was orphans or foster children. We took our first step with the foster care system.
How did that conversation go down between the two of you? Were you guys both on the same page right away, or did it take a while?
I mean, wasn't like the first thing in our mind. We went through a lot of things in this life. We try to see how the adoption process worked in different parts of the world, believe it or not. There's a bunch of things that we have gone through. And, I mentioned it to my wife a long time ago. I'm like, hey, we can be foster parents. And, I hate to say it, but there are people out there that are like, oh, yeah, I don't know if you want to be a foster parent because of this, this, and that. And, the truth is that these are people that have never been in the system or had a foster kid before. They're just saying things that they heard. So I'm going to tell you something. For us, this was probably the best decision we've ever made. you know. Our first child was 3 days old, and you know, it's one of those things where people say, "Oh, I fell in love from the beginning with this child." We literally fall in love with all of our kids from the beginning. It's crazy, but you know, there's an attachment, and it's hard to explain. But you know, like when you have a child in your house, day one, you're already like, "This is my child. I'm responsible for this little kid." And you know, I'm gonna give this little boy or this little girl all my love, all my attention. It's hard to explain how you fall in love with these kids. And you know, being a foster parent, at least for me, has, well, I would say for both of us, because my wife, she's an awesome mom. But you know, I'm saying for me, like, you know, I would think before I was a foster parent, I would think like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna have time. I don't think I want all the worries. I don't think, you know, like I started thinking about all the negatives, but those things go out the window because the love that these kids bring to the house and that space they fill in, you know, is a lot bigger than anything else.
Angela, did you feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. I always kind of knew that if we couldn't have our own, start our own family, that we were going to take one of these alternate routes. And so foster care for us has been an eye-opening experience. You know, it has its ups and it has its downs, but the kids are the reason why we do it, and we have not regretted it. It poses some challenges sometimes, you know, like for instance, these two little ones, this is the first time that we're having two in one shot. Well,
We had a teenager.
yeah, we had a teenager. I mean, it's kind of a little bit different because we did have a teenager and a toddler at the same time. But that teenager, she was like the best teenager you could ever want. She was awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. But this is the first time we're having these two little ones. So they bring a lot of joy to our lives. They really make us very happy. They keep us on our toes more than ever. I didn't think we had all the energy that we're mustering up right now.
Yeah. And we get to be a good team, you know, because you know, kids have way more energy than us. So when Angela sees that they're draining me, she takes over. If they're draining her, I take over, and we make a good team taking care of the kids and using psychology on them because they are something else. If you don't use all your powers, they'll get you. You know, so
Yeah.
we try everything.
So, what has been your interaction with the parents as you go through all these kids? I'm assuming some parents are more friendly than others. Others may give you some trouble. I mean, what has been your experience?
But I do gotta say that you know, for example, with our little boy that we had, you know, I got to talk a lot with his mom that was in jail, and his pops, and that experience, I hate to say it, but it kind of pushes me a little bit back because I'm that guy that, you know, if they're like, "Oh, can you help me with this?" Like you guys, from the stories you told us, you know, that you helped out with this and you helped out with that and you helped out with this. You know, the whole time I'm thinking that would have been me. That would have been me doing all of those things. But what happens is I get a little bit too involved, and my emotions get in there too. And I think sometimes when I try to help them or get too involved, some things will backfire, you know. And I know that it's a little bit hard to understand, but you know, even today, you know, this kid's dad called me about something, and you know, then as I thought about it, and I had a conversation with my wife, you know, I'm like, okay, well, he was asking me, and I'm not gonna get into details or anything like that, but was pretty much I was gonna be getting involved in something that really has nothing to do with me. So, you know, if I didn't have this conversation with my wife, I would have probably just made the phone call and called this person and told them, hey, can you check into this, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't up to me to do that. It wasn't, it's not something for me to do. You know, like I have no right doing that. So I'm glad I had the conversation with my wife. And this is why I try to like just take care of the kids, you know, be a good foster parent. And I try to just step back a little bit because I get myself in trouble. I really do, you know. But I guess
when you say that you're getting yourself in trouble, it's because you're saying that you get too involved and you want to do too much to help.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, when you're helping too much, you might be doing something that
could compromise you.
Yeah, so you know, it's hard to tell these kids' parents like, hey, I'm just here for the kids. I'm just here to take care of the kids. And the truth is that, you know, I would love for everything to work out fine and all this other stuff, but somehow we got into this. So I have to stay in my place and take care of these kids and put all my energy into taking care of them and try to have some type of balance with my relationship with them where, you know, I don't take it too far and we're best buddies and, you know, and things get a little bit, I don't know. And it's hard for me to explain it. But I just got to keep it at a certain level.
I feel that everybody should have a second chance, you know. So if parents have made a mistake and they have put themselves in a predicament that they shouldn't have, and they realize that their children are really important to them and that they want to fight for them, I believe that we should help them. You know, I believe that that's what the godly thing is to do. But I also believe that that when children are reunited with their families, you know, then the families need to kind of step up to the plate and make sure that once they have their children back with them, that they're able to provide, that they're able to be there for them, they're able to provide all the necessities, not luxuries so much, but the necessities, and then reach out. You know, we don't mind being a support system, but we do mind being the caretakers when the children have been reunited with their families or their biological parents. That's a big difference. So that's where I kind of see the line being drawn.
You said that you become the support system once they're reunited. Well, what does that look like?
His father, and maybe we shouldn't be mentioning names, but his father is going through a very difficult time right now because the child's mother's in jail, and so it's just the father raising him. And with the father has had him since December, so it's been about 5 months, and these 5 months have been really rough for him. They have been absolutely very, very rough for him financially, emotionally, I'm sure spiritually, and mentally as well. The father had 3 children that he cared for, that he was responsible for prior to the foster care being involved, and he lost 2 of them. So when he had the 3 children, he never was the sole caretaker. So it was either the mom that was taking care of the children, he was just financially providing. But now the situation is that he's the all-encompassing person that has to take care of this child's needs. And it's a big realization for him. And he's realizing that there's a lot of things that he should be doing, but is probably not doing them in a timely manner. So, like, for instance, his dad is gone for 3 weeks working. He found a job in New York to be able to help during this pandemic. And so we're assisting as a support system because we're taking in the child over the weekends to kind of alleviate the current caretaker, whom the child does not really get along with too well. He does not feel too comfortable with her. So we know that he does feel comfortable here and that he's always asking to come back here. So our doors are open. So in that sense, we can be a support system. But again, it depends on the situation. Every situation is different. And I'm basing that that on our experience with this prior foster child that we had. I don't know if that is going to be the same case for all the children that come through our doors.
Some of the questions that we had when we were starting to look into foster care was, you're doing this for the money, which is, can you shed some light on that, please, in case somebody's out there thinking that's the reason to get into foster care?
This is enough. This is the answer right here.
I'll pay. They can keep that check if these kids promise to let me sleep every night with no problem. Okay, they can keep it. I'll pay it.
No, and no. The money that we get for the foster children that we've had, it goes back into their well-being. It goes back into their food. It goes back into clothes. It goes back into entertainment. It goes back into them. The money that actually falls into our pocket.
Yeah. And the other thing is, honestly, if we were working with just math, right, then I wouldn't be able to do this because I travel for work. And when I travel, I make more money. And when I'm a foster parent, I can't travel the same way because I can't leave it all up to her. So that means I stay home. So that means I get less money, because I have to stay home. So if it was about the money, then this would not be working out for us at all. They'll have to give us a huge raise.
Right. Okay. Well, there are some people out there who may be considering foster care, but they're, they have their own apprehensions. It can be very difficult, but it is a lot of blessings. How do you see it, and how do you push someone over to the other side to get into foster care?
It is priceless. It's it just fills your heart, and these kids, they bring an energy, a very positive energy to our homes, and they make life worth living. And you don't understand that if you are being a foster parent for the wrong reasons. But if you are a foster parent because you truly want to help little kids, and give them love and take care of them, it's the best thing in the world. It really is.
End of the day, at the bottom of our hearts, we know that we're doing it for a very selfless reason. We're not doing it because we're getting monetary compensation. We're not doing it because we want some gratitude from people. There's people that find out that we don't go out and necessarily declare that we're foster parents. Not that we're ashamed of it. That's not the reason why. But when it does come up in conversations, people turn around and they say, well, you guys are you're great.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful that you're doing what you're doing. And they kind of make us feel like if we are like royalty. But we don't feel that way at all.
It makes us feel like we're doing what they're doing, that they have their own 4 kids already. and then they take on more kids. Yeah. Us, what we do is nothing compared to what people like you guys do, because that's amazing to me. And I saw this with and I'm sorry to interrupt you, babe. Okay. But that's what I'm getting at. Like when people come and say, "Oh, thank you so much for what you're doing," to me it's like, I know a bunch of people that are like, they have 5 kids, 4 kids, and they take in more kids. Like, I'll be honest with you, I think that if I have my own kids, I won't be from here on. Yes, if I have my own kids, I'll still be a foster parent. But if I have my own kids from the beginning and never was a foster parent, I probably wouldn't do it, because I would have been like, well, I don't know. But, I would put all these excuses in the way. So for me, my hat's off to people like you, that you have your kids, and on top of that, you go out of your way and you open your doors to kids that need it. So thank you. But not us. We
don't think that we're doing anything special. We honestly, seriously don't. So when people praise us or applaud us, we feel very not insulted or offended or anything. We just feel like, no, like this is coming from our hearts. This is something that is natural and first nature for us. Trust me, the kids do more for us than we could ever do for them.
Yes.
A child comes in with these behavioral issues into your care. What do you do?
I don't know, we haven't, luckily we have not, I mean, we've had children like the prior foster child that we had. When he came to us, he didn't have verbal skills. He didn't have verbal skills. He was being cared for by a 16-year-old girl, and she wasn't doing any social learning with him. So it was just, he was in front of the TV. He was playing games and toys on his own. You know, he wasn't going to daycare, so he wasn't getting that interaction. And so when he came to us, he was just like literally pointing at things. So whenever he needed or wanted something, it was just pointing. Or whenever he was crying, we felt so frustrated and we felt so helpless because we didn't know at the age of 3 what he wanted. He couldn't express it to us. And then even though he was a Spanish-speaking child and we're Spanish-speaking, the limited words that he would use with us, the Spanish limited words that he would use, we didn't know what they meant because it was all like a combination of other words. So he had his own little language or his own little words that he was trying to put into sentences, and we couldn't understand him. So for us, it was very, very frustrating. There were times when he would, at the very beginning, unfortunately, he came into placement with his aunt, who was at the time 17 years old. And he had already lost 2 of his siblings in a fire. So the aunt then ran away, and then he was abandoned one more time. So here's a kid that's 3 years old. The mother's in jail. The father was also in jail. The aunt had just abandoned him. He had lost his 2 siblings. He lost everybody. He lost his entire family in a matter of like 2 months. So he came to us and he would cry whenever he would just get frustrated because he couldn't tell us what he wanted. We didn't know what he wanted or how to help him. And he would go to a corner and just cry and have tantrums. And all we could do is just go to him in that corner and hug him and just console him and try to get close to him. And sometimes he would physically fight us off, like just fight us because he didn't want us to get close to him. You know, I could only imagine the things that were going on in his head at that point, but I don't know for sure what he was thinking. So it took a while and through counseling, I'll be very honest, through play therapy, through counseling, through speech therapy, he had a lot of services in place, which we were fortunate for. All those things helped, you know.
Did you have to pay for those services?
No, they were covered. The foster care agency covered all of them.
So yeah, to answer your question, you know, one of the things that we do is when we get a child, of course, you know, every child is different, and we'll talk about something that might be a little bit strange, whether it might be the speech or something that they're doing, and we'll just bring it up to their caseworker. And we'll all talk about it to see if there's any professional help that we can get this child so that we can, you know, try to cover this at an early time. Better earlier than later, you know. So that's the other beauty about, you know, the system is that the kids are protected in that way. You know, it's not like we can just brush it off and say, oh, well, that's how he is. If we feel that maybe he's not speaking correctly, he or she is not speaking correctly, or they might be walking a little bit funny, or whatever it is that they might need, we try to tackle that and make sure that they get the help that they need now while they are with us.
These kids are a big change in our lives. We're filling a gap in their lives, but they are so much doing more for us. And it's a wonderful experience. It's nothing that we would want to change or trade.
I cannot believe that you guys are such wonderful people, and yet you're not willing to point fingers to yourselves or to even give yourself any kind of praise. You just give it off to other people, which is just incredible. We really do need more people like you guys to do foster care. Like you said, this is through no fault of their own. These kids are in the situation through no fault of their own, and they just want somebody to love them. And you
That's it.
Yeah, and you guys are doing that. It's just wonderful, and I thank you guys, and God bless you. So you guys are very special to me, to us, to our family. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Thank
Have
you
a great
too.
night.
All right, take care.
God bless you guys.
God bless.